Okay, here we go. So they all pertain, all these three questions with Dave Chalmers are going to pertain in some sense to Sir Arthur C. Clarke, who is the namesake of the organization that I'm representing here at UC San Diego. And the first thing, that Arthur C. Clarke said is any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. That's kind of a hallmark signature line of his. And of course, creating a simulation or something would be even indistinguishable from God. And I want to talk about mortality in the first question, not to be too down on a Friday morning, Friday afternoon for you. But when you leave this mortal coil at age 120 in the biblical tradition, the age that Moses reached, I want to ask you, what would you leave as an ethical will, as what we in Hebrew call a zava'ah, a collection of wisdom or knowledge, not necessarily financial advice to you don't have children, but to your ideological children, of which there are probably millions around the universe. So what piece of wisdom would you leave to such individuals?
When it comes to thinking about values and ethics, like I'm not religious, but I do believe in meaning and value in life. I guess I think that meaning and value of our lives, we have meaning and value in our lives because we are conscious creatures and we can invest things around us with meaning for us and with value. Don't look at something in the world to provide its value for you. Don't look necessarily to a god or to a politician or to a mystic to provide your value for you. I think we invest things with meaning, and meaning is the human mind has this amazing capacity to invest things with meaning. And I
Very
think
good. The second question
meaning is where you
revolves around the material object or knowledge, not wisdom now. Now we're talking about knowledge that you would put on your monolith. So you may have seen 2001: A Space Odyssey, where these hominids, they encounter this enormous monolith and they want to engrave something on it, or they want to understand what's in it. Maybe it's a time capsule. Maybe it's a weapon. Who knows what it is? But I want to ask you, if you had a time capsule that you knew was going to last for 1 billion years, not 120 years, you got this time capsule, what would you put on it? What would you put in it? What would you use? You could put a CD-ROM from AOL on it. I don't care. What would you put on it, in it, around it, about it to encapsulate the grandeur of what human beings have achieved?
Yeah, interesting. It's kind of hard to put a philosophical slogan onto the time capsule. But I guess if I really wanted to be informative and to tell them about us, I would try and stick a human brain in there. If it's hard to freeze a human brain and put it in there, maybe I'll just put the best possible record of a brain image of the human brain in there, such that they could reconstruct a human brain. Not only, that would provide the possibility of reanimation and a form of immortality for the human species, but B, it could actually tell them what we're all about in a much better way than simply producing a few artifacts. Maybe if there's room for a bit more, I'll put our best AI program and maybe a smartphone to show them our technology. But yeah, the human brain, if we can reactivate the human brain to reactivate human consciousness, I think that would be a pretty worthy purpose for a time capsule.
I was afraid you might say the collected works of Olivia Newton-John.
Let's get physical. She was Max Born's granddaughter.
I know that. Yeah. Let's get it from bit. Let's get simulational. Yeah. Okay. The last question, David. Now we're going into the past, into your past specifically. And I'm going to ask you a question pertinent to Sir Arthur C. Clarke's third law. So I gave you his first law about magic and technology. His second law was, for every expert, there's an equal and opposite expert. I like to pull that on my department chair, or you can tell that to Greg Gabadadze, my friend Greg Gabadadze at NYU. Yeah. He's a good friend. You can pull that out on him, if he makes you or your colleagues teach too much. But his third law states that the only way of determining the limits of the possible is to go a little way past them into the impossible. And that's the reason and the namesake of this podcast, Into the Impossible. So I want to ask you, what sort of mysterious aspect of your life specifically perplexed you as a 20-year-old, a 30-year-old? And what advice would you give to him if you could go back in time and reprogram the simulation? What would you give him to give him the confidence to go as you've gone into the impossible?
Oh boy, I don't know. I guess that's the central mystery for me has always been consciousness, and yeah, in a certain sense, consciousness does just kind of seem impossible. Physical universe with a physical brain, and so why on earth would that give you this amazing experience of consciousness? It just seems at least impossible, at least given certain natural assumptions. But it's nonetheless the most important, most familiar thing in our life. So the most familiar things are often the most mysterious. So yeah, consciousness seems impossible, but I guess I would like to say we can reason rigorously, even in thinking about the impossible, the mysterious, the speculative, the grandiose. There's nothing stopping you, even if it's not yet ready for science. That doesn't mean it's not yet ready for reason. And one thing we try and do in philosophy is to try and reason about these things and to figure out what the possibilities are. So, okay, you don't need to solve a problem in order to make progress on understanding it. And I just tell that younger version of myself, just go full steam ahead, try and understand the impossible, never give up on reason.
Well, that is wonderful, and a wonderful way to end after a fascinating conversation with one of the world's foremost thinkers. David Chalmers, NYU, author of Reality Plus. I really commend it to your attention, and you've earned a spot in the pantheon of some of my favorite interviews of all time. Dave, thank you so much for joining us and spending your valuable time with my audience.
Thanks, Brian. This was a great conversation.